Christmas lighting control, a lot of you have started off with Lightorama, a lot are still using Lightorama. Once you start controlling your lights, which Isaac's about to do very soon, you've got a number of different ways of doing it. I can see me now, it's disconcerting, very disconcerting. Getting out of your PC, you're either going to go USB or Ethernet. Originally with USB was the way to go for small channel counts. Once you got a few display items, like we haven't got much here. I've got nothing I can see. Candy canes, for instance, you can control them via a USB. You've only got a couple of hundred channels, nice and easy. DMX and Lightorama formats are virtually the same thing. They're both RS485. Both come out the same sort of dongle. This thing here, or there's another one around somewhere I saw on the desk. Somewhere. Oh yeah, the same sort of thing, just a USB to RS485 dongle. Only real difference between these ones and oh, it's a powered one, is it? Booster one. The only real difference between them is the pins that the connection the RJ45 leads come out on. So you can actually control Lightorama boards or DMX boards with the same dongles. DMX isn't a complicated process. Lightorama's added the feature last year, so you could actually do it with the advanced version, so you can pump out to DMX boards. So instead of having to use all of your Lightorama boards, which are quite expensive, very plug and play though, you can just plug them in, set your starter address, not starter address, the control number on them, and plug it in and you're going. The DMX boards, which I make one, David AVD makes several. That's DC48 there. There's little 3-channel ones that Raywoov got, 27-channel ones that Raywoov sell, 24 channels that Ray've got. The Lightorama boards, AC boards, are $16 a channel. DC, something like $5 a channel, are they, Ryan? DC Lightorama boards. Yeah, so $6 to $7 a channel for those things there. The Ray boards work out at $1.80 or something a channel. And control of things is no real difference in your computer. All you've got to do is configure things as a DMX channel rather than Lightorama. So there's no real reason for anyone to keep buying the Lightorama boards unless you're stuck with Lightorama Basic, which I think most people have probably progressed out of very quickly. Lightorama Advanced is the only version that has DMX and E1.31 support. Vixen, Lightshow Pro, HLS, X-Lights, everything else you want to sequence with or create flashy lights with will do DMX support anyway. It's just Lightorama have only just made the transition last year. The way that the data is transmitted out of in Lightorama format, they send out the information, they tell it to when the lights turn on, what effect they're going to do, and when they turn off. DMX actually sends out packets of the full 512 universe at about 40 updates a second. So Lightorama can control, or Lightorama format can control quite a lot of channels off the one USB dongle, whereas DMX is limited to 512 channels, which is a hell of a lot of channels until you start hitting pixels. You're not really going to pick the difference. If you're using Lightorama boards, Lightorama software, it's fine. If you're going to go to DMX, you can transfer over. The DMX, the lighter arm boards will run DMX as well, unless you've got a very, very, very old controller, like 5, 6 years old. All the new firmwares, all the new boards will allow the new firmwares which will allow you to run DMX. So you can just either have a crossover cable to go from a DMX board or an Estel wired DMX board into your lighter armour board, or vice versa, or my mega board that does a couple of jumpers, and you can loop it from one end to the other nice and easy. There's no huge mystery to DMX. Everything's taken care of in the computer. Lighter armour network, or lighter armour boards, which we haven't got any here. We have got one here, have we? We have got an AC board. Those there, all the lighter arm boards, you have to set the you have to set the controller number on. On that one there, being a CTB 16PC or something, you have to use the hardware manager to do a software setting of the controller ID. On some of the other ones, they've got a dip switch or a toggle switch, I can't remember which, to set them. Two dials to set the controller number. And that basically sets your controller number up until this year. All lighter armour boards were in increments of 16 channels. They've now added 8s and 24s, is it? Yeah, 8s and 24s. I don't know how that affects setting your controller numbers, not having used them, so hopefully no one here will buy them. I love LOR. I've got my LOR hat somewhere around here, which I won at the Mini a couple of years ago. Nothing wrong with them. They're expensive. You need to be spending your money on lights rather than controllers. There's a lot cheaper boards around that allow you to do the same thing. And 16 channels for $200 for an AC board is horrendously expensive. I told the guys in Melbourne Mini, throw your AC lights away, buy them. It's actually cheaper to get a cheap board and lights out of China than what it is to use an AC board. And it's so much safer too, not having 240 volts lying around in your garden with people wandering around as well. DMX boards, you have to set the start address. The DMX universe is 512 channels, so you have to set the board to somewhere within that 512 channels. 60 channel boards are anywhere from 1 to 400 and, my brain's mush, 452. You can set the start address on that there and it'll respond to anywhere in the network. They don't care what order you have the board. You can have this board as channel 1 and this board as channel 61 wired from the controller. It doesn't matter what order you put the boards in, they don't care. They listen to the network, they're not talking back there. You can have two boards set at the same address if you really want to have both sides of your yard doing the same thing at the same time. The lighter armour boards actually do talk back to the lighter armour software when they're in lighter armour mode. Running DMX mode, they don't talk back at all. Because the lighter armour boards actually do have the ability, there's a couple of inputs on them for triggered show. So if someone's walking past, they can press a button and have your show doing different things. I don't know anyone, Superman actually in Brisbane, he actually has some, part of his Halloween show, I think he has it doing different effects. So he presses it and I don't know if his skull does some talking or something, but most people aren't going to have triggered effects in their show. You've got your sequence that you've built, you go with it, you just play it continuously for a few hours a night. You don't really care about people pushing buttons out the front. Unless you've got a huge display and you've got bits over here and bits over there. But if you want a triggered display, the lighter arm boards are nearly the only option you've got. But I don't know anything about them, I've never used it. So DMX is easy. Lighter armor network's easy. They both go out of USB dongles. Once you go into big displays, lots of pixels, you're going to outrun your DMX universes. Then you need to go to Ethernet. That's a little J1 P2. Ethernet in, two pixel outputs coming out of the thing. This little board will control 8 universes, so that controls 8 times the lights that your USB dongle will do. The P12 floating around, Matt's probably still got, he might still have some floating around, 12 pixel outputs. The older version did a couple of universes per, that's a P2 I think, Matt. Is it? That's a P2. Oh yeah, it's a P12. P12. 12 pixel outputs. That will do multiple trees like that there. Depends on how you wire it up, whether it's one universe per output or multiple pixels per output, but that will do 3-4 times what that tree is sitting there that we're going to be running a bit later on. Quite a cheap option. That costs less than a 16 channel AC board, or about the same price as a 16 channel AC board. So there's a huge benefit in going to those. The pixels confuse a lot of people initially. When you're wiring up your pixels, they have to be wired in order, the way you draw them up in your visualizer, in your whatever software you've got thing there. You can't chop and change your display without matching it in your thing. DMX boards, the LOR boards, it doesn't matter how you wire them into the network, the pixels you do, which is why Dave's sitting over there clicking away madly, because he has to match exactly the way that this thing's configured. It must have been me. They're very easy to use, well, fairly easy to use pixels. You need to be conscious of voltage drop, which is why there's power injection right around the base of the tree. Oh God.
Turn that one off. You have to half Italian now. Can't use both hands to talk.
Oh no! I know. Well, I've got a whole one here. The pixels are pretty easy to use. Matt got going within hours pretty much when you first go, but you need to prepare and be conscious of a lot of things with the pixels. They are limited in the length of cables you can go before you put power into them. 50 is sort of the given standard. Any longer than 50, you start getting voltage drop issues down them, and instead of having a white when all the pixels are on, you end up with a pink colour because the red LEDs turn on at a lower voltage. Power injection, being conscious of other cables around, because it is very high speed data going down the cables, so you don't want massive thick power cables adjacent to them, because the interference will stop having, or will cause you to have issues. We never found out whether Fast Eddie was having that issue last Christmas. He was blaming these cheap Chinese power supplies, but he replaced them with $100 units and still had issues. So you can use fairly cheap cable running this stuff. That looks to be the 4-core security cable that that's Rob. That's your display there, Rob. A 4-core security cable there. Quite cheap. Comes in 100 metre, 300 metre rolls. The distance from your control box to your cable you've got to be aware of, because the distance you can go between boxes and pixels are limited to 6 to 10 metres depending on the pixels you're using, which is why you'll see null pixels talked about on the forum and in the software that is in the web interface of the J1 Sys devices. They actually have the ability to have null pixels. So you've got to put a cable, got to put a pixel to reproduce the signal part of the way. Like for instance, if that box of Rob's was up here in the corner and he's controlling the tree there, he might have to put a null pixel in the middle just to get the data reproduced out to the out to that pixel, or out to the tree with all the pixels. Lots of different types of pixels, different formats. There's that pixel there, which are pixel nodes, I think they're quite commonly called. I use these pixel strips, I think they're called. Pixel modules, actually, they're called. I use them on my icicle type things over there. There's big round 40mm pixels that Ray's got. Pixel strip of mats around the edge of the kitchen, that round table there. Matt's got pixel modules in his candy canes. Quite a big variation in the pixels as such. Different types. 2801 Matt's got. 2811 is sort of becoming a replacement for it because it's cheaper. It's a 3-wire thing, so there's no fourth wire have to be dragged out there, so it makes it 5 cents, 10 cents a pixel cheaper. It has got some limitations, the 2811. You can't vary the clock speed like you can with the 2801. 2801 you can almost use any clock speed and you'll get it to work because it's got separate data and clock speed. The 2811s you have to use the manufacturer's recommended clock frequency. You also have constant current or constant voltage pixels. 2801 I think is constant voltage. What that means is to dim the lights, you've got a 5-volt supply. To dim, what they do is they actually turn the lights on and off for the duration. So you're 100%, or actually it's 255 by 0 to 255 for DMX signals, and I won't say most, a lot of the pixels are 0 to 255. They're 8-bit pixels. The 6803 is 5-bit or 6-bit, which is in the CCRs, which I hope no one buys for lighter armour, only because they're expensive. You can buy the same equivalent thing from Ray for $30, $40 against several $100s for a CCR. 8-bit. So you got to vary the brightness. You've got a 0 to 255 signal. So fully off, nothing happens. That's the equivalent of say 10, 15. Constant current one, constant voltage pixels, they just turn fully on, fully off. At the start of your pixel run, you've got 5 volts. Meters away, you might be down to 4 volts, which is why you get the pinkening at the end of the things. The brightness here is actually going to be slightly different to the brightness with that same setting over here. What the constant current ones do, which is what the 2811s are, they've got the 5 volts there still. They turn on, but they turn on until such point as they reach, in the case of 2811, 18.5 milliamps. So as soon as they've got 18.5 milliamps, they limit the current flowing through the LEDs. So there's a little bit of headroom here within the chip. So the further down the line, this will be 100% brightness, 90%, 80%, 70%, until this gets down here to the point where it can no longer have this headroom. They're always going to be the same brightness. The difference might be imperceptible, but it does make a difference to having a uniform Don't trip over. Dave's matrix over here, for instance. What sort of pixels you got there, Dave? 2811s. That there, every one of those, you turn them on, they're all going to be the same brightness. You build a matrix, that's 2801. Yeah, I know, it's got 4 wires, I counted them yesterday. If you build the same matrix here, and the fact that you've got them side by side like that there, you can possibly, because it's only marginal, you'll possibly pick the difference in brightness as they go, because they are side by side, and they're not the... This one, I was a bit close. This one here, and oh, that should go that way. That one there and that one there, being a metre or so apart, you'll possibly notice a difference if you're using a 2801 matrix or something like that there. Oh God, he's followed me. So there's good benefits to the 2811 pixels. They're cheaper, they have the constant current thing, but they are limited in the clock rates you can use, which does affect how long a run you can go. The 2801, you can basically go hundreds, thousands, well, I don't know how many thousands, but 600 odd pixels deep hanging off one output on a something like the P2, and because the clock rate can be varied, you can still get that updating at 40 frames a second, equivalent of DMX rate. Because the 2811 is limited in the clock frequency, I assume that Ed does some cunning stuff inside these controllers, so that if the full pixel run can't be updated in a 40th of a second, he'll actually slow the update down to match, so he gets all the pixels talking at the right time. That's sort of guru stuff. He's a guru, I'm not. But mostly you're not going to pick the difference. And a lot of people don't go the full 4 universes or whatever you can hang off an output, because if you lose 1 pixel anywhere except way down the far end, you lose every other pixel from there on, because each pixel actually reproduces the signal going into it and takes off a little bit. It takes its own data off it, then passes it on. So if you lose a pixel for any reason, no, not any reason, the lead itself could blow and the chip can be all right, but if you lose a pixel, you lose the whole end of that line. Good thing is you can see that this pixel's working, this pixel's working, this pixel's not. One of those 2 pixels is your dead one, so you chop them out and replace them. Very easy to do. 4 wires or 3 wires in and out. Too easy to do. This strip, which is the same as that thing there, you can do the same thing there if you have to. The only problem is it's covered in silicon. You've got to bare wires to do it. That's kind of the Ray equivalent of a CCR. $20.
That's about $50 for 5 metres, that's 2801.
Yep. Yeah, it's the 6803, which is the 5-bit or 6-bit or something. So it doesn't actually have the same. He's got the data there. Yeah, 5 bits. So it's whatever 5-bit works out. 64 channels, is it? I can't work out 2 to the 5th in my head. Yeah, they flash. They look good, but for the people who are trying to build a matrix and they're doing flash things like putting video like Eddie does and stuff like that, you don't have the same fading values that that the 8-bit ones do, or the new 3001, which is 12-bit, but most software, like Lightorama software and the LSP software, don't take advantage of that 12 bits. Those extra bits are used the Advotech control, the two Lukes in Melbourne, I can't remember what their company name is, they've got a controller, a 16 channel pixel controller, which has gamma correction in the thing, which basically means that at the lower intensities, it actually looks like the light's fully off, or approaching fully off, because the gamma, or the human eye's response isn't linear. So when you do that 0 to 255 variation in the brightness, it doesn't look like a linear change in the brightness. The low intensities actually turn on a lot quicker. So you can pick a very small change. The very small change in this number looks like a huge change when you actually look at the thing. So the 3001 pixels that the guys at Advotech are using, and I think that may be what Stelloscopes could be using these days too, with his new run of stuff, because it allows you to have what looks to be a more linear response in the brightness. Most Christmas light displays, you're not going to pick the difference between a 5-bit chip, an 8-bit chip, or a 10-bit chip. The blinking on and off fast, matrices, a high density matrix, you might pick the difference, but you go what's cheap, go what works, whatever. Because a lot of people are going fully pixel these days, Matt went fully pixel from day one. It's a very, very easy way, because of the difference in light. You can do nearly anything with pixels that you could do with the dumb elements before. You've got if you want to, you can have a full string turning on at the same time. You can have Matt's candy cane things, any Santa. If you want to, you can have them all the same colour or all different colours. So full pixel is a very easy thing to do these days. But I've found that there's a market for my latest little boards, which are a pixel-driven board, which drives a DC controller. So if you want to, what Matt can't do at the moment is run an RGB flood or anything like that, because there is no pixel floodlights. Or there is there? Very dear, are they? Oh, yeah, because it's actually a whole heap of pixels within them, are they? So if you want to buy a cheap RGB flood, a dumb RGB flood, or there's some strip over there which I use for wall washers for my place there. You can actually use a pixel network, hook this into it, and it will drive dumb DC elements, whether they're fairy lights, whether they're RGB lights. You can drive relays, just anything you really want. But it was basically designed for people that are going full pixels, but needed some high power lights, whether they're wall washers, floods. I saw someone talking last night on chat. They were using one of my boards, and they're going to put a big star on the top of their mega tree. Not plugging things, they're just here, but that was one of the things that it's only come out a couple of weeks ago. It's Mr. Sully. Has he got one or two streams going at the moment? You could have 3 today. You got a real echo. That's pretty well all I can think of at the moment for networking, the different networks. Other than Light Armor network, being an RS485 network, you can go to over a kilometre long. The same with the DMX network. Ethernet, each one of these Ethernet boards there has to hang off an Ethernet either directly to your computer. Has he got a network switch for you somewhere, has he? Or he has. network switch hanging off the back of your computer. Each one of the Ethernet boards you've got, whether it's a P2, P12, an E3.804 or whatever that 6804 that Dave's got over there, each one of them has to be driven off an output of a switch. You're limited in the distance that you can go between here and here, or here and here of 100 metres, which is a fair distance. If you do need to go longer, you can go from there to another one out in your yard, out to another one. So you need to be slightly conscious, if you've got a large yard, of the distance you can go with different networks. It's still a long way. I can't think of any applications, unless you've got a really huge yard, where that 100 metres will be an issue. Yeah, although the P2s, why has he got two? No, that's not DMX outputs. Oh. He's using, I didn't realise that. I thought Ed was the same as everyone else and used cheap plastic RJ45 outputs for his, the good stainless steel inputs for the RJ45 being Ethernet, and normally cheap RJ45 plastic ones for the outputs, but Ed apparently, he's got overkill. So this little beastie is a P12S J1 Sisters' latest baby. Again, you're limited to 100 metres from your switch or your computer. 2 DMX outputs, so you can go to DMX boards like David's or mine, or DMX floodlights, the 2 snowblowers that we had last night going. A lot of them are DMX capable, so you can actually have them driving off your sequence. Pan tilt heads if you've got disco lighting in your display. Shell, who needs a mention because she's a legend. She's got a DMX controlled laser for her show, which may or may not get used because she's had all sorts of issues with getting it to work. So this new board that Ed's got is pretty amazing in its features. 12 pixel outputs and the 2 DMX outputs. So a lot of people, that is all they'll ever need for the display, or all for the foreseeable future. That's all they're going to need. Ethernet into the thing, E1.31 into it, and pixels and DMX out of the thing. That's all I know about this little beastie. It's the first time I've touched one. No, well, it's literally a couple of weeks ago this was released. It's hit Australia for the Sydney Mini, and when Naguna got them in, he got them in with no firmware in them because Ed was still working on the firmware. So that's how new they are. Yeah, so it's only Thursday just gone that they've actually had software to drive the thing. So these are brand spankers, these things. What else can I tell you about networks and lights? And yeah, the older P12R, which stands for round robin, I don't follow what it does. It didn't have the DMX outputs. This is the only beast in the world with, unless there's something in the SanDisk make, which I don't know about. On the Pixel ones? Oh, cool. Yeah, Renault, blah, 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 blah. Yeah. Do you actually use any Renard stuff, or do you do? Well, Dave and Alec, who's not here, they both use Renard being do-it-yourself, but nearly everyone else is either going to be using DMX, Lighter Armour, or one of the more popular non-do-it-yourself formats. Yeah, that's what Alex said. He's flashed his Renard boards to DMX. Yep. Yeah, it was a simplified format that the Renard stuff built for designed for do-it-yourselfers, and pretty much becoming obsolete, really. They've got, like yourself, you've gone to DMX because it's a more common format. Vixen will support Renard stuff. Light Pro will do Renard. Lighter Armour won't. It's a good thing. They won't do the Renard boards in Renard mode, at least, anyway. Any questions on networking, how to control your lights via the different networks? One thing is, which I didn't realise when I looked at this board, most DMX boards are controlled via these RJ45 plugs and Cat 5 or Cat 6 cables because it's cheap. You can actually control via the DJ, in Matt and his DJ days, the DMX stage lighting, etc., uses the Canon plugs, which are on this board that Isaac's got here. The XLR plugs, the Canon style plugs there, which Ray's boards come with as standard, is one of the standards for DMX cabling. Just that it's easy to use RJ45s. You can buy these leads for nothing, 50 cents, $1 for the leads, which is cheaper than a lot cheaper than the plugs for the Canon connectors. So if you've got a board like this, don't confuse those RJ45 plugs being DMX and those ones being Ethernet. They're not interchangeable, they're totally different standards. I don't know if they do any damage or not, but who knows? We'll find out one of these days. We could test with this one. Ed's not watching, is he? Yeah, I saw David there, folks. Yeah, I've got one of his boards here too. Nothing else I can think of for driving the different networks. I'm not going to talk about Renard networks because I know nothing about them. Dave could. No, the Renard network. Oh, actually, ArtNet also I don't know anything. That's yeah. Well, it's meant to be coming, isn't it? The ArtNet. Yeah, I reckon I've seen. No, I reckon I've seen greyed out settings on the web configuration for my P2 board at least. I don't think the P2 supports ArtNet, but I know nothing. And cheaper, and you can buy them as do-it-yourself thing to solder up if you happen to blow fuses and think you might have blown the board up. Yeah, it's sitting over there. Are they based out of Do-It-Yourself Christmas, the SanDisk stuff, Dave? Is SanDisk based out of Do-It-Yourself Christmas, or? Yeah, because we don't see much of it at ACL. Alec uses it, you use it, and occasionally a few of the Americans on here pop in and ask questions. We sit there twiddling our thumbs because we know nothing, or most of the regulars who are logged in there know nothing much about them.
They're certainly worth looking at.
Yeah, they are
at the moment. The latest revisions of it are incredible value.
Yeah.
Price per piece was on the 6804 is cheaper.
Yep. It's that little board that Dave's got over there that we're talking about.
2,000 pixels.
Yeah. That little board there is very close in specifications, except it does extra features, than the P2 that I've got over here of Ed's. Yep. So if you do lose a pixel, for instance, on that one there, you'll lose half what you will on here if you've got the same number of pixels being driven. Do it yourself, either buy it as a kit or already built, or buy direct from J1SIS. Driving them, the software doesn't care. They're just E1.31 devices. No questions about anything?
All right, thanks Alan. It's probably a good segue into going on with, pretty loud isn't it? I'll move it down.
Lots of speakers.
Good segue on going into a door prize. Okay, we've got quite a few boards here to give away. So, get the feedback. I think I turned the microphone up too much. So, I think right now what we'll go through is we'll give away the 4 boards that we've got on offer today. We've got 2 Ray 27 channel boards. Okay, we've also got a P2 and one of the SAN devices, E6 804s. So we'll go through and we'll actually use the random number generator that I'm not in control of today, so I can't be held responsible. So, as I mentioned yesterday, for those people that weren't here, there's only one prize on offer for each person. That's just so we can spread the love as much as possible. Yesterday's prize didn't count. That was completely separate. That wasn't expected in any way, shape or form. So you could get yourself a Pixel controller of some description, maybe, Ryan. So, but we will do another draw obviously later in the day because we've got some software and some additional giveaways that we still need to get rid of. So everyone's in the mix except for numbers 20, 24 and 23, I believe. And Ryan will tell me if there's any other numbers. Okay, yep, Ash can have number 23, even though it says Ian. There we go. So she's paid her money, don't worry. So she's in on it. So what I'll get Dave to do over there, he's got my computer with the random number generator. F9 will refresh the number.
Everyone watching, so I'm not cheating here. Because we're going to hit F9 as my number comes up.
Yep, we'll say that that's going to be once. Okay, just so we know what prize we're going for. We'll do a Ray 27 channel board first up.
Okay, hitting F9. It's number 9.
Number 9. There we go, Ed. Congratulations, you got yourself a Ray Woo 27 channel board from, funny enough, from me. Okay, next one, look, we'll go for the P2.
P2 goes to number 10.
Number 10. Hey, there we go, Damo up the back. You just bought a couple of those, didn't you? Yeah, well, congratulations, a P2 for you. That's obviously from J1SIS. So thanks, Ed, over there for that. We'll go another Ray board. Next number.
Next number is 24.
24. Oh, we got to redraw that one. That person didn't turn up.
18.
18. Aussie mate. Ooh, he's not here. He hasn't played. Redraw.
19.
Alan. 27 channel Ray Woo board. I don't know what you're going to do with it. Congratulations. You want to redraw?
No, I've got no use for them.
Okay.
Okay, redraw that one.
Redrawing again for the Ray Woo board. Number 9. You can't win again. Okay, Ed, no, you don't win again.
Is that one better than this one?
It's exactly the same. I probably dropped that one a few more times. Or was it this one? I can't remember.
21.
21. There we go, up the back there. So, Lennon's got himself a 27 channel board. Well done. The last one that we've got here, and this is thanks to SAN devices, okay, is the Pixel driver, the E6804.
15.
Hey, there we go, up the back again. You needed one of those? Congratulations, Mick. Alrighty, so we'll do some more giveaways a little bit later on. Obviously, there's still some great vouchers to go, including the LSP software, a couple of mugs, there's AVD vouchers as well. So what we'll do now, we'll take ourselves a bit of a break just so we can get set up for Rob's demonstration for his tree, how to set it all up. and then we'll crack on with the rest of the practical side of the house so everyone can start pushing buttons on the computers. So guys, have yourselves a 5 or a thereabouts break, minute break, and we'll crack back on shortly.